What is up, everybody? Welcome to Speak Now Pro Wrestling. It's your girl, Denise Salcedo, joined by Robin Lundberg, and we are breaking down Friday, March 28th edition of WWE Smackdown, emanating from London. Robin, how are you?
I am doing well, Denise, and I am doing better after that last segment of SmackDown, which really salvaged the show, in my opinion, and sent it home on a very strong note.
It definitely did. Now, here's the thing, though. I didn't think this episode of SmackDown today was bad at all. I thought there was a lot more on this show than we've had like the last couple of weeks. Like, legit, I thought like at least every segment delivered on something different. Maybe like one or two didn't necessarily hit, but I thought there was a lot on the show that actually moved so many things forward. But kicking things off, we're gonna start things off on the show with the biggest thing, which was, of course, the contract signing with Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins. So this closed out the show. It took about like maybe 30 or so minutes of the ending of SmackDown, but really there's only so much to actually say about what went down because there was so much. Obviously, the entrances take up a lot of time, the chanting and all of that definitely does take up a lot of the time from the actual segment. But here is what we got out of this. Seth Rollins kind of reminds Roman Reigns a little bit of their legacy as a Shield and what they have done and what they have done in this business. Of course, some jabs from Roman to Seth, from Seth to Roman. Seth signs the contract. CM Punk gets out there prior to even when just Roman Reigns was out there, he was getting a sing along, just kind of vibing, chilling, all of that, whatever, right? Roman's out there, Seth is out there, CM Punk finally goes out there. And what we end up getting here is CM Punk signs his contract. However, before he signs his contract, he's like peeking and looking at the contract. He's actually looking it through, and Roman Reigns is trying to rush him. Paul Heyman then gets very emotional on the microphone and starts telling CM Punk, like, it is there. You are going to get your main event. It is happening. You're going to main event at WrestleMania. And then even gives him a hug and a big giant kiss. And I'm thinking, damn, Roman Reigns is not going to like seeing that really affectionate Paul Heyman showing that much affection to somebody else. And so this ended with CM Punk basically saying, thank you, like, kind of sarcastically acknowledging Roman Reigns and reiterating that even though they're going to be in the main event, this is not his favor. And I'm so happy that he did that because I didn't think that his favor should be for the main event because we all knew, like, okay, this could be the main event without them having to make it into a favor. We still have to have a separate favor for CM Punk. So I love that they basically said they killed two birds with one stone. The favor's still out there. And yes, these guys are going to main event. They didn't emphasize night one or night two, but I think we all know it's night one. Robin, what did you think of the segment?
Well, I don't think they reiterated. I think they swerved because I thought that was the favor. When he's looking through the contract and Paul Heyman says it's in there, and then CM Punk gets emotional, I thought that was the favor. So when Punk then hit us with the that isn't the favor, that was what I thought was the real punch of the segment to close it out at the end. So I agree with you in the premise. I just think the execution was flawless in that regard. And I thought Roman Reigns was just awesome in that segment with the crowd singing along and his whole nonchalant demeanor, feeling bigger than everybody else. And it shows you that Seth Rollins is so consumed with CM Punk, right? Like
Oh
that
my
he's
god, he was so whiny in this. No, you can't get a main event. I'm like, bro, you're in it too.
yeah,
Chill.
he's angry about main eventing WrestleMania himself. That's how consumed with rage he is about CM Punk. So I thought it advanced the long-term storytelling. I thought it created incentive toward this match. Obviously, it's going to be a main event with all three of these guys. I think that felt inevitable, but to tie it into CM Punk's story as well, and then the way Roman Reigns, just the aura, I guess is the word to use the parlance of today. His aura was on display.
Yeah, I think so too. My favorite part was when Paul Heyman started doing the sing along too, and he was still singing the chant. I thought that was pretty fun too. Another thing that I caught while I was watching this was that when Roman Reigns asked CM Punk to acknowledge him, even though CM Punk did so sarcastically, Did you notice that Paul Heyman was shaking his head at CM Punk before he even started speaking? He was like, "No, like do not do this," which is not something that you see from Paul Heyman. So that was another thing that was subtle, but also loud enough for us to pick up on. What did you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think all those little details and touches were really strong. And you and I've spun the block on this. We're looking forward to Roman and CM Punk. I think all the layers and the seeds are being planted for that in the midst of it. But I liked, Seth Rollins' involvement. I thought was strong too because of what we just talked about and the beginning of the promo referencing the Shield when again Roman cooked him, basically saying, I'm the one who elevated everybody else. Yeah, you were in the group. Cool, that's good. That's
And then he
nice.
basically said, like, since then, I'm the one who made WWE as hot as it is. I'm the reason that they're on Netflix. And I'm like, damn, Roman out here not holding back, which, obviously Roman Reigns' trajectory has, just gone, sky high, right? So two totally different careers there. But still, like you said, Roman Reigns came back and he fired. And that's what I wanted to see too. Like I want to see that firing back and forth. I still want to see that from Roman and Punk though. We still haven't had enough of that little, jabbing back and forth exchange.
But that's to come. I mean, again, that's it's a slow burn there because that's part of Paul Heyman saying or CM Punk saying that wasn't the favor from Paul Heyman because we know that friction is on the way, and so that's your anticipation getting you rolling. But first, we've got this triple threat match, and we got a couple more weeks before, so there will be some back and forth between Punk and Roman in route. But I think a lot of that is going to come beyond WrestleMania when we get to that eventual feud from them.
You know what's interesting too, and this is more on like the production side of it. Like this is last week and this week, the CM Punk Roman Reigns Seth Rollins bit of the show is the thing that we've been most looking forward to, right? Like that's the hottest thing of the show. It's the thing we're most looking forward to. What I've noticed is that SmackDown is ending sooner on these segments, and I don't know if you caught this, but probably 6 minutes before the end of the hour, they started playing the end credits before we even got to the end. We still got like 3 more minutes of the show after the end credits had already played on the screen. And I'm wondering, like, if that was accidental, if that was done on purpose. I almost worried that they were gonna just like abruptly end the show. But it was weird because you still had time until you hit to that third hour. So I've been feeling like they have been trimming down. I've been feeling like they have been trimming down these segments between them because also last week they also ended the show abruptly, or not abruptly, pardon me. But they also ended the show with, several minutes left on the clock. Do you think that they're doing that on purpose? I mean, obviously they clearly don't have that much on it to go all the way, but do you like that? Because I feel like this is the part of the show that I've been waiting for the whole time. I want to see it through all the way to the end of the third hour.
Well, I certainly noticed it because I know I'm joining this. So as soon as like that those words hit is usually when I close up shop in one room and head to the other room. But I'll say I'd have to watch the product because we've been watching in the middle of the afternoon on the international Netflix feed. I then didn't watch the USA feed later. So I don't know how it's presented on traditional television, how they tinker around with it, move it around, because I'm assuming it hits its normal time slot when it's airing in the States. So I'm guessing they have some sort of wiggle room in regards to that because of the way it's being shot or the way it's being displayed internationally. It has to be a quirk of this tour.
Maybe. But yeah, it was definitely something that I was picking up on. And I'm like, what is going on here? Like, I just want to make sure that we actually see like everything. Like, give me as much. My thought process was give me as much of Roman, Seth, and Punk as I can possibly get, especially since that is the reason I am tuning into the show. But with that being said, we got a couple of super chats to get into. So here we go. We got Corey MacArthur here who says, though I was working and now off, but enjoying the watch along today. Agree with you on finding time to do taxes. Shaking my head. I know, so irritating. But Corey, hopefully you get yours done. Hopefully I get mine's done. Robin, have you gotten your taxes done?
Yeah, I got him back. No
Oh,
bueno.
you're on it. You're on it. I haven't even done mine, so
Well, in our
stress
line of work,
levels
I
are
had
high.
I had a let me just say I had a grip set to the side and it's all about to be gone. So the
That's
bad
how it
news
is.
is I owe a lot. The good news is I had what I needed to owe. I was
It is.
hoping
It's hard. It's
I
hard.
was
It's
hoping
hard.
that some of that would be a car or something. But
Nope, never is. That happened to me last like 2 years ago, and I was just like, "Nope." I was going like whole anti, "How dare you?" It's a whole thing. It's a whole
yeah,
thing.
but at least I'm
Thank you,
not in the hole.
Corey. We got Anthony Giuliano here who says, "What's up, Robin? How you been?"
What's up, Anthony? How are you, man?
Thank you so much, Anthony. We got Sucho here who says, "Next Monday, we got to have a moment of silence for Jimmy because I don't think he's making it to WrestleMania." Yeah, dude, after Gunther gets him back with that freaking chop after he gave him that massive slap. Yeah, Jimmy may be, he's going to go from big Jim to little Jim from that chop.
Yeah, snap into a Slim Jim.
Yeah, 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 exactly. Thank you, Sucha. We got Sandy Klein here who says, "What do we think the favor is? Love your hair, girl." Thank you so much. I think that the favor, I mean, we've sort of been, trying to predict the favor as we go on. I feel like the most obvious option is really Paul Heyman aligning with CM Punk. I can't really think of another favor that I think would justify all of this and this whole story. Robin, is there anything besides Paul Heyman aligning with CM Punk that you think can be the favor?
Yeah, it's strange because just him aligning. What is the favor? You now become my wise man, right? Like, is it that? That almost feels too on the nose. I feel like it has to be something that can lead
Less
to that.
obvious?
Yeah, yeah. Well, something that may lead to that, but isn't just like, yes, you're now on my team rather than Roman's team, right? Like, I don't know. That feels a little bit too direct.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. I can't think of anything now. So I'm like, maybe I'm just not that clever. I don't know, but that's all I've got. So we'll see how they end up actually executing it. But that's clearly the big thing. And that's why when people were saying, "Oh, CM Punk's going to cash in his favor for the get his favor in for the main event," I'm like, absolutely not. That will take a huge portion out of this story. In order for the story to progress and to really hit hard, it has to be left. It has to be something else. It can't just be the main event because you can justify it a different way, which they did. And I loved the way they executed it, basically saying, like, "Here, this is you getting your main event. It's happening." Thank you, Sandy. We got Nate here who says CM Punk smirking at Drew being smashed through the real glass windshield was cinema. Oh, yes, that was a so read in between the lines kind of moment. And I loved that. You know what? Let's get into that right now. So we did see there was oh my gosh, there was so much with Drew McIntyre today. So let me kind of run this down really quickly. Cody Rhodes was out there with Randy Orton. We'll circle back to them in a second, but Drew McIntyre had also gone out there and he had words with Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton. We'll circle back to that. However, later on in the night, this led to a match between Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre, at which we saw Kevin Owens come out and distract Randy Orton. So Drew McIntyre was able to hit him with a Claymore and get the win for the actual matchup. And during this, I kept asking people in my watch along, where the hell is Damian Priest? I would have thought Damian Priest was also going to come out, but he didn't. Later on in the show, Drew McIntyre is about to leave. He wraps up an interview with Jackie. And as he opens the door, Damian Priest is there and goes in the attack. And they start fighting in the back. They start fighting on this car. And then Damian Priest ends up putting him through a windshield, right? And then as CM Punk was walking to make it to his contract signing, he walks past the Drew McIntyre on the windshield and kind of just turns and goes like a huh kind of thing. Doesn't really say anything, but kind of smirks and laughs at that. And so I feel like that was definitely a subtle nod at obviously all of the drama that unfolded with Jack Perry and CM Punk and the Real Glass and All In and you guys know you guys know the song and dance. Robin, what'd you think of that portion of it?
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I think they need to they continue to push it towards us that there's real friction between Drew and Damian Priest. So these sort of blunt confrontations and contact all add to that. Is it an interesting wrinkle to have, Drew involved with the other guys before that? I'm not sure if that's supposed to be some sort of foreshadowing or anything, but I do feel, at least like sitting here today, when Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest eventually lock up at WrestleMania, that I see them having bad blood. At least I go into that match thinking these guys don't like each other, and I'm expecting the action to commence thus forth.
Yeah, no, I was saying just like 2 weeks ago on the show, I'm like, damn, you know what? I'm actually interested in this Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre storyline. And right now, I'm feeling justified in that because already the last 3 weeks of this story really going, 100, I really do feel like they've gotten so much out of it in such a short amount of time. And it's been effective. Like, I loved the attack. I thought that was really cool. And so, Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest is like climbing for me in terms of the matches that I'm most excited for WrestleMania. Like it's starting to climb up there for me in terms of enthusiasm for sure. With that being said, I do kind of want to rewind though and get into that big segment with Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton that also involved Drew McIntyre. And there was a lot in this. I mean, just to summarize, Cody Rhodes opened up the show and, he's talking about, all the things he's been dealing with. Randy Orton goes out there and Randy basically puts Cody Rhodes over and tells him, like, man, I'm proud of you. Like, you've done all of these things in WWE to the point where you have probably even surpassed me. But he gets right to the point. He's like, I love you. I respect you. I'm proud of you. But I do want to let you know that, hey, coming off of WrestleMania, when you defend John Cena, I'm going to come for that 15th title, world title. Like, I'm going to seek you out and seek out your championship belt. So pretty straightforward. I loved this promo from Randy because I thought he made some really great points and really put over Cody Rhodes and his accomplishments and ran down so much of what Cody Rhodes has done since he came back to WWE. I thought that was great. However, when Drew McIntyre came out, Robin, I was like, yes, this is the guy. Like, here's where we're going to get the sparks in this promo. And Drew basically called out Randy and said, why are you going to get a title shot? Like, you haven't done squat. You were gone for several months. People are talking more about my 5-minute little victory than they are about your comeback. And I thought, damn, he ain't totally wrong here. And he was just bringing up point after point the way that he normally does and made fun of Damian Priest, calling him Timu Undertaker, which is something that I was also waiting for. So the concluding thought that I had during this segment was I cannot wait for Drew McIntyre to become a champion, Robin. Like, I really do not want to see Drew McIntyre constantly be stepped on or whatever. Down the line, Drew McIntyre needs to get the strap because he's one of the most interesting characters that they have right now in WWE.
Well, I mean, I feel like he's been, it's not like he's been given the short shrift or anything, unless you were to say he should be in the main event right now. And that
No, he should be at some point.
yeah. And I think, I mean, look, it was only just a year ago that he wound up winning, right? Like, didn't not for
Last
long.
WrestleMania 40, yeah.
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 But I mean, it's so he has been in that picture and flirting with that picture, an elongated feud with Punk, who is in the main event of WrestleMania right now. So he's been main event adjacent for a minute, just not kind of cracking through that glass ceiling. Now, I don't think Damian Priest is necessarily going to be the one to get him there, but I don't see, any of this having lowered Drew McIntyre either.
No, and exactly what I said was exactly what I predicted was going to happen. It's I feel happening. I had said a couple of weeks ago that Drew McIntyre not being thrown in there with the Roman Reigns or being in the main event, he could have easily been. This could have been a fatal 4-way. Hell, for all we know, this could have been a fatal 4-way right at WrestleMania. Drew McIntyre could have been part of that. Drew McIntyre could have been part of whatever, right? The fact that he wasn't in like the world title shot or in a main event, right? To me, is going to leave Drew McIntyre with a chip on his shoulder where he's constantly maybe being, cast a little bit to the side or like even coming off of like the Royal Rumble where there was reports that he had been angry and stormed out and things like that, right? So for me, like I had said, Drew McIntyre is going to go into this feud with Damian Priest with a chip on his shoulder in terms of wanting to prove that he is the main event guy. And no matter what story he's in, no matter what he's doing, he's going to make things interesting. And I feel like that's exactly what Drew McIntyre is doing right now in this feud with Damian Priest. I had also said Damian Priest is another guy with a chip on his shoulder because he's also a guy that was at the mountaintop as world heavyweight champion. And then since, following that, it's kind of gone a little downhill for him. So I think he also has that chip on his shoulder of wanting to prove that he is a main event guy. So when you have two guys with a chip on their shoulder, it's like, all right, we can make some magic here. And so that's kind of how I'm feeling right now about how this story is starting to brew. And I'm interested, man. They have me.
Well, what I'm interested in is how they resolve it. without, hurting either guy. Because I'm not sure who's winning necessarily. I mean, if I had to bet money on it, it'd be Drew McIntyre, but I don't think it's a complete lock because they've also invested a great deal in Damian Priest and getting him to a certain level as well. So I think it's a very delicate finish that they have to get to somehow where neither guy comes out buried, but somebody, if not both of them, come out elevated. Otherwise, it's just kind of there to fill time.
We have a very generous super chat from John Taylor. John, who's been extremely supportive, just nonstop. John, thank you very, very much. He says, I haven't watched much wrestling this week, so I'll dedicate this to Robin. My brother in law was a high school girls basketball coach for 30 years, and the school names the basketball court in his honor. Robin, you must surprise them and have a whole arena named after you.
Well,
I mean, now we know it can happen. I mean, 30 years? That's very cool.
that is very, very cool. Yeah, that thank you for that message and that sentiment. Yeah, my empire is expanding, so maybe we will get there one day. It's crazy, Denise. I parallel with women's wrestling. Let me keep it in the parlance of what we're talking about a little bit here. Where I would have never imagined when I was watching Sunny and Sable that one day I would think of the women in the WWE and even beyond. You go to Tony Storm and AEW as equal to the men, or I'm comparing which Elimination Chamber match was better, which Royal Rumble match was better. Same thing goes with basketball, and I'm now covering women's basketball, women's Fast Break on SI. We just launched Indiana Fever on SI this week as well. And I was an NBA head, a hoops head. I've been a hoops head my whole life. I would have laughed you out of a room, not to be a dick, but I would have laughed you out of a room if you had told me I would have been covering women's basketball and investing more time in that. And that's where we are right now, thanks to Caitlin Clark and everything else that's happened since then. So congratulations to this guy, the brother-in-law, who was doing it way before then when it was a lot tougher to do. But nonetheless, Robin's Arena has a pretty good ring to it.
That sounds very nice. You gotta start getting there, getting there. How many more years till you hit 30 years coaching basketball? How long have you been doing it so far?
Oh, coaching basketball? Damn. I guess close to 10 because my oldest is a bit
Oh,
less than
okay.
that. So probably 6. So I guess,
Okay,
yeah.
well, you got a couple more years to go.
Yeah.
John, thank you so much for your generosity. We got Dan Lutzka in the building. Dan, so good to see you. He says, what's the favor? This is Rocky 3. Remember, CM Punk hasn't seen Rocky. Still can't believe he hasn't seen Rocky, by the way. I think CM Punk needs to watch Rocky. Thank you so much, Dan, for the super chat. And yeah, I think the favorite will be something with aligning with Paul Heyman. That's all I can think of at the moment. We got Uncle Donk here who says the favor is a cage match with Jack Perry. You're wilding out here, Uncle Dog. Thank you so much for the super chat and the joke. We got Mr. Acosta here who says Seth Rollins once again showing why he's the MVP. All right, I like that you see it that way, Mr. Acosta. I think a lot of people kind of see it a little differently, but hey, man, to each their own. Thank you so much for the super chat. All right, with that being said, let's go ahead and keep it going. I want to get into some other of the big highlights that occurred here on SmackDown. And I want to get into LA Knight and Braun Strowman versus it for the United States Championship. Excuse me. This ended in a disqualification after Jacob Fatu went out there and attacked both of them. And here's the thing is that I'm thinking, and I think a lot of people in the watch along were kind of thinking the same thing. Are we thinking a triple threat match here? Is that where we're going with this? Because that kind of felt like that's what they were setting up. I don't know, Robin, if that's the vibe you got.
Yeah, except I mean, Braun Strowman and Jacob Fatu, the way Jacob Fatu's been hammering that man, I want to see them settle it mano a mano.
Right? There's a
Yeah,
lot of options.
yeah, LA Knight feels a little extra in this. I mean, like, do I need to see LA Knight? Yeah, nope, not in this. I don't. So I give me Braun Strowman and Jacob Fatu because Braun Strowman been getting, you know, the brakes beat out of him or whatever you want to call whatever phrase, slobber knocker, walloped. He's been getting the wood laid to him.
Yeah, man. I was like sort of debating. I'm like, all right, because I feel like there's so many different directions they can go in. They can do Jacob Fatu versus Solo Sikoa for WrestleMania. They can do Jacob Fatu versus Braun Strowman. They can do Jacob Fatu versus whoever the United States champion is going to be, whether it was going to be Ali Knight or Braun Strowman before this match, which now we know Ali Knight's still the champion. Okay, so are they going to do a triple threat? Can they include Solo Sikoa in this? Like, there are so many different options and directions that there can go in. I don't care what direction they go in, as long as we see Jacob Fatu walking out as United States champion. I'm on board with that, but I do want to see Braun and Fatu again, just because that's definitely a matchup that I find very, very intriguing. Here's the thing: another big moment that happened on the show, Robin, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on this because I am in love with this. We had a like this is what I envisioned. What I envisioned, what I had hoped for is what we're starting to see come to life on screen. And that is Naomi. Naomi with the tears, maybe looking a little bit psycho, crazy,
Mhm.
mad woman, recounting the events that have unfolded with her, Jade, and Bianca, but her basically seeing herself as in the right and her actions and her intentions being justified. Like she's telling you, I was the third wheel. Why am I the one that's being punished? And her message and what she was coming across as like a little bit, I could see like I could sympathize with her, but also you shouldn't be sympathizing with her because she's kind of that crazy look in her eye. And I thought that was so good. And she bust out the tears. She's rocking her body. She's got the caution tape all over and is now telling people, to proceed with caution. And that was the thing that I loved last week too. So I'm loving this like crazy, just angry, mad woman, kind of psychotic Naomi that we're seeing right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it hit all the notes that you and I were preaching for a while about her feeling third wheelish, little forgotten, never carving out her own identity, all those sorts of things, cast away in the WWE scheme, even when you think about where she was for a bit when she wasn't around. You know, that's subtext for some fans, I'm sure. And that's the most she's ever felt like a star to me in that promo. Like I like her music and the glow and I like her vibe and I think she's a terrific performer. That's the most captivated I've ever been by Naomi on screen. And perhaps this was exactly what she needed. And if they're able to capitalize on this, you could make the argument, talking about you were talking about strapping Drew up earlier. Maybe she's the one that, not that those are mutually exclusive, but my point being, maybe she should get strapped up and you really push into that rather than just kind of using it as a foil for what's happening in the storylines of Jade and Bianca, because that would actually just be furthering what made Naomi turn in the first place.
I think I get what you're saying because to me, if there was any version of Naomi that's going to be world champion right now, like 2025, 2026, whatever, it's with this character. Like
Mhm.
this is the character that can take her all the way there, because it is really good. It's coming across as very strong, and I feel like again, it's showing us sides of Naomi that we've never seen before. At least I haven't seen the side of Naomi before, and I feel like that's the most intriguing part of it. And she even did like an attack afterwards. She attacked Michin and B-Fab right before Michin's match with Charlotte Flair. Pretty damn decent match there. Of course, Charlotte Flair gets the win. And then we got a backstage interview with Tiffany Stratton. And this was her basically kind of calling out and saying, like, yeah, I'm a rookie. And if I lose to Charlotte Flair, I'm a rookie losing to Charlotte Flair. What does it mean if Charlotte Flair loses to a rookie kind of promo? But definitely a stronger promo than she did have last week. Way stronger. But then again, Charlotte wasn't there. So we'll see if they ever run back a back and forth promo between Charlotte and Tiffany Stratton. But what you think of Charlotte Flair and Michin as well as Tiffany's promo?
Yeah, it was fine. I mean, Tiffany needed to say something. I think after last week and all the look, WWE has proven they are keenly aware of some of the discussion that happens around their product. Not that it was as I feel like that was directly shown in the Jey Uso slip on Raw, which I thought
Oh,
was brilliant.
yes, yes, like
Uh,
that working it into a story. Yeah.
yeah, and
Hate
then
that, but hey, they did it.
and I thought it was brilliant. And they're talking to Jimmy, talking to Jay backstage about it. But I think that's maybe part of the reason Tiffany Stratton was solo and got to cut that. And then of course Charlotte Flair was going to go over in that match en route, but it didn't wow me. None of that wowed.
I get it. I get it. All right, let's kind of run down the last couple of things on this show here. We had Street Profits defeat Pretty Deadly. This was their first title defense, so really weren't expecting anything. A pretty decent matchup there. We had Kaden and Katana Chance versus the Secret Her Vice is what they're calling it. Alba Fire and I was about to say Isla Dawn. I'm so used to saying Isla Dawn, but no, Piper. Here's the thing, Robin, that I do want to say about this is that they had like a Katana Chance Kaden backstage segment where they were hanging out with Zelina. I would kind of like it if Zelina had her own like little girl power group and Kaden and Katana were with her, because Kaden and Katana don't really got anything else going on. And I feel like Zelina needs something to kind of stand out a little bit more. Sure, she's been with the LWO, but I think it would be kind of cool if she had her own cool little girl gang with her, and it'd be Kaden and Katana. I think that would be awesome.
They definitely need something, I think, in order to not just be somebody who's there, like to have a purpose and matter. I mean, because there are those segments of the show, and I call it the third hour, right? Like the tag team thing feels like the third hour a lot of times, whether it's in the second hour or the third hour to fill that extra hour of time. And you never want to feel that way about a performer. And if you're a performer, you never want anyone to feel that way about you. So in order to change that, there needs to be some sort of change. There needs to be something that hooks people. Some people never find it, and they wind up somewhere else or doing something else, or it takes them a long time to whatever the case may be, or they just don't have it. But we just talked about it with Naomi, found it, right? Like Drew McIntyre, I think found it when he was kind of he had the look, but never was
The
interesting.
pizzazz, yeah.
Yeah, none of that. So like that can happen, and in order to do it, you got to try things and mix it up a little bit rather than just being happy with your role on the show.
No, I feel, yeah, I agree with that. I agree. We also had Jimmy Uso defeat The Miz. This was a pretty this one actually went a little bit longer than I was anticipating, but he won with a pinfall after the Uso splash there. Any additional thoughts on the Jimmy Uso Miz match, and also that backstage little Jimmy Uso interview that he did? Kind of just like reminding everybody that, hey, that he beat the bricks out, or beat the lights out of Gunther with one slap, which was
Well,
great.
I think Jimmy's being used to sell that WrestleMania match. Everybody's expecting him to just get trucked by Gunther, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes, because I feel like Jimmy's actually done a pretty good job bringing some charisma and seeming like a player who matters, not in like the title picture or anything, but like, okay, there's Jimmy Uso, like Big Jim. But his role in that angle is to help build towards that eventual match that or not eventual, the one that is scheduled for WrestleMania with his brother.
So, and we got a few more things to touch on before we wrap up the show. And these are more like news bits things. Ray Phoenix is officially making his SmackDown debut next Friday. It is happening. Day, I know we spent a lot of time talking about Ray Phoenix already, but any additional comments now that we know he's coming on SmackDown next week?
I mean, it just makes you look forward to the show, right? It gives you something to look forward to. How is he going to look? How are they going to present him? How's it going to differentiate between what they've done with Penta over on Raw because of their connection? So yeah, that I think is a good selling point for them going into next week's show, when they can't necessarily do it on Roman and Seth and Punk the way that they've done it the last couple weeks. Now that that's kind of not been resolved, but the tension has been cut a little bit.
I'm so excited, man. That's all I got to say. I'm so excited for Ray Phoenix to come out and, like you said, see what the presentation of him is. And yeah, that's very, very fun. We also got another spooky teaser, the black little smoky thing for Malachi Black, which is what a lot of people are expecting. Alistair Black, excuse me, in WWE. We kind of saw like the silhouette today too. I tried to get a picture of it, but it just flashed so quickly on the screen. But with the hood, it had like a hooded silhouette, and I think for the most part, everybody's already been anticipating that that's Malachi Alistair Black. But regardless, with the silhouette showing, it definitely feels like it a lot more, in case anybody needed the additional teasers on that. And then last but not least, I want to get your thoughts on this, because when I saw this, I was like, fudge, yeah, how have they been not doing this even sooner, Robin? And that is that they're going to be inducting a WrestleMania match into the WWE Hall of Fame. So freaking cool. Bret Hart, Stone Cold Steve Austin, WrestleMania 13, one of the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time, to some, may be the greatest WrestleMania match of all time. Dane, what was your reaction to that?
Super cool. I mean, I thought that was awesome. It's smart. It makes sense. It could introduce a whole new group of fans and generation of fans to that match. And that match specifically makes a lot of sense. You have the iconic image of Stone Cold, and then you have where those guys went in their respective careers with WWE, and what happened with Austin after the fact, which really changed the trajectory of the company. So in some ways, you could talk about best or most memorable or most iconic. In some ways, it's one of the most important matches in the history of WWE because of how you felt about Stone Cold Steve Austin coming out of that. So I can't say it's like about time or past time because I wasn't campaigning for the idea. That's then me just like sort of piggybacking and going, yeah, you got finally. But 2 thumbs up. That's what I say.
Oh yeah, man.
Or 2 middle fingers up.
Yeah,
In this
exactly.
case.
We also got Yellow Sheep 66. Thank you so much for sending in the super chat. That was very, very nice of you. So thank you so much. Hope you're having a good weekend. Oh man. All right. And this is the last SmackDown, by the way, where we have to talk about it super early. Going into next week, we're back in the States, so it'll be normal time slots. Still Monday Night Raw will still be emanating from London. So that one will still be early, but SmackDown will be back to the normal time next week. With that being said, ladies and gents, that was our SmackDown post show for today. Thank you guys so much for checking it out. As always, do not forget that I have daily wrestling content going up on the channel each and every single day. Go and check out some of the past videos that I've posted. A lot of different fun stuff posted already and more to come. Robin, what do you got going on?
My son continues to ask me to start our wrestling channel together, so I have to do that. But in the meantime, I will plug his channel, Raj hyphen Talk, and then of course me. You can follow me, the Robin Lundberg Show, over on YouTube, Robin Lundberg channel on YouTube. Women's Fast Break on SI, Indiana Fever on SI, covering women's basketball, and the podcast to be named later between my son Raj and myself, and even Rohan, Big Ro. I mean, Ronnie likes wrestling too. My daughter, she definitely likes it. But Big Ro, he came downstairs at 2:00 in the morning the other night, and I'm like, "What are you doing here, man?" And he's like, "I want to play wrestling." And then he gets his figures, and he asked me for the phone so he can play the entrance music for all the, he's about to turn 4, but he'll have to have some
Takes me
sort of.
back. Me and my cousin used to do that, but with the boom box.
Yeah.
When I had the wrestling CDs and put the entrance music on in the boom box. I literally old memory just unlocked right now. That is awesome. All right, guys. Again, links to follow Robin in the description box below. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye, everyone.
Eat.